I want to start with a very specific and I think very painful scenario. It's Friday afternoon. You and your content team have been just grinding all week.
Oh, yeah. I know this feeling.
You've pushed out, let's say, 3 new articles. You look at them on the staging site. The writing is sharp. The graphics are custom-made. Your brand voice is witty. It looks beautiful. You hit publish, you high-five the team, and you think, okay, that is good work.
It's the best feeling in the world. The ship has sailed. You can finally close the laptop for the weekend.
It is. But then Monday comes. Then the next week comes. And you look at the dashboard, and it's just nothing. Or maybe not nothing, but it's a trickle. The traffic is flat. It doesn't climb.
The dreaded flat line.
And worst of all, when you try to find it on Google, and this is the scary part now, when you ask an AI assistant a question about that topic, your content is nowhere to be found. It's like you released it into a void.
That is what we call the invisible failure of modern content. And honestly, I think it is the single biggest morale killer for content teams right now.
It has to be.
Because to human eyes, that content looks fine. In fact, it looks great, it reads well, it's grammatically correct, it's on brand. But to modern discovery systems, whether that's Google's ranking algorithms or the large language models powering AI assistants, that content is fundamentally incomplete.
Incomplete. Wait, even if it's a 2,000-word ultimate guide that took a subject matter expert, 10 hours to write?
Especially then. Because you can polish the on-page SEO all day long, you can have perfect grammar, but if you have the wrong shape of content, you remain stuck.
The wrong shape.
The systems literally cannot process it the way they need to in order to serve it to a user. It's like trying to feed a VHS tape into a Blu-ray player. The content on the tape might be Oscar-worthy, but the machine literally cannot read the format.
Wrong shape. That is a fascinating way to put it. So we aren't just talking about missing a few keywords here or like a bad meta description. We're talking about the structural DNA of the page being incompatible with the machine.
Exactly. The interface between human knowledge and machine retrieval has changed, and most content teams are still publishing for the 2015 internet. It's a fundamental mismatch.
Well, if we're going to fix the DNA of our content, we better get started on this deep dive.
Welcome to the Content Ship Podcast. This is a show about how content actually works today, not how it used to work. We talk about search, AI systems, and the operational side of producing content that survives change.
This podcast is created by people who care deeply about their craft, working intentionally with AI, not to replace human judgment, but to extend it. That mindset is exactly why we built Content Ship, to give a single expert inside a company the kind of leverage and structure that used to require an entire team.
And if you stick around with us for this deep dive, by the end of this conversation, you aren't just going to have a bunch of high-level theory. We are going to hand you a specific 15-tactic implementation plan. Think of it as a sprint you can run this week to take those fine but underperforming pages and turn them into assets that actually rank.
I love a good checklist, but I want to push back on this idea of the wrong shape immediately, because I think a lot of us feel like we're doing the right things. We're using the tools, we're checking the boxes, we're writing the blog posts. Where is the disconnect? Why is the machine rejecting us?
The disconnect is between what humans enjoy reading, or, what we think they enjoy reading, and what discovery systems need to see to verify you have the answer. And this has gotten way more complicated because so many teams are falling into what I call the text vending machine trap.
The text vending machine. I have a feeling I know what this is. You're talking about treating ChatGPT like a slot machine. You pull the lever, you get a blog post.
Precisely. It's the default mode for, I'd say, 90% of marketing teams right now. They use AI generators just to produce words. Write me 800 words on SEO trends. And the AI does it. It's competent. It's fine. It has an intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion.
It's C+ work. It's passable.
It's passable, but it's generic. It's gray goo. The teams that are actually winning right now, they're using AI as part of an optimization workflow, not just as a drafting tool. They are engineering the shape of the content before a single word is even written.
Okay, let's unpack that workflow, because engineering the shape sounds a little, a little cold. We're writers, we're creatives, not architects. If we want to move from vending machine to optimization, where do we even begin?
You have to start with intent alignment. This is our tactic 1, and I call it the multiplier for a reason. Because if you get this wrong, absolutely everything else you do downstream, your keywords, your images, your promotion, your beautiful prose, it's all wasted.
Wasted.
It's mathematically zeroed out. It doesn't matter how good it is.
That sounds incredibly ominous. But isn't intent just what the user wants? That seems pretty basic. Give me an example of how a really smart team gets this wrong.
It seems basic, but this is where all the nuance is, and it's where people trip up. Okay, let's use a classic example. Let's say you sell software for project management. You have a great product. You decide to write a post targeting the keyword best project management tools.
Okay, makes sense. High intent keyword.
Right. So in your head, as a brand storyteller, you want to write a glossary definition explaining what project management software is. Or maybe you want to write a manifesto on why your specific philosophy of management is superior. You want to set the stage.
Sure, that feels right. You want to establish thought leadership. You don't want to just be another commodity on a list. You want to explain why these tools matter in the first place. That's just good marketing.
It's good brand marketing, but it's terrible discovery optimization. Because if you go and look at the search engine results page, the SRP for that query right now, what do you see?
Well, if I search best project management tools, I'm seeing top 10 tools, best software ranked, pricing comparisons. It's all lists, column after column.
Exactly. Google has already decided, based on billions and billions of user signals clicks, pogo sticking back to the results, time on page, that the person searching best project management tools is in comparison mode. They are not in learning mode.
So they've already done their homework, they know what it is, and now they're ready to shop.
They're ready to shop. They want a list. They want to see the sticker price. They want to compare features side by side.
So if I publish my beautiful philosophical essay on the art of project management, even if it's the best essay ever written on the topic,
you lose. You have mismatched the intent. You have the wrong shape. Google's crawler looks at your page, sees these long paragraphs of theory, checks it against the user intent signal, which is screaming database or list, and it just says, this is not a match. You don't even get the chance to be read by a human.
This is so painful for writers, though. I can hear people groaning because it feels like we're being told to stop being creative and just fill out a form. Make the list. Don't think. Just give them the grid.
I hear that pushback all the time. But think of it this way. You are not stopping creativity. You are directing your creativity where it's actually welcome. If you bring a history textbook to a car dealership, the customer isn't going to read it. They want to see the car.
Right.
But once you show them the car, once you give them the list they asked for, then you can be creative in how you describe the features, how you differentiate your tool, the little stories you tell about each feature. But you absolutely have to respect the format first. The format is the price of entry.
So the very first step before we write a single word is to go to the SRP and ask, what did Google decide the user wants right now?
That is the golden question, and usually the intent is mixed. It's rarely 100% one thing. You'll see some listicles, maybe a what is box from a dictionary site, maybe some pricing pages. A great page needs to acknowledge that mix, and the best way to do that structurally is something called BLUF.
BLUF, what is that?
BLUS. It stands for bottom line up front. It's a military communications principle.
Ugh. Military style. I've heard this term, but I feel like it goes against everything we learned in English Lit. You know, build the argument, create suspense.
It absolutely does. In school, we were taught the mystery novel approach to essays. You have your introduction, your background, your supporting evidence, more evidence, and then finally, the big reveal and the conclusion. The payoff is at the end.
Right. You have to earn the ending.
People online do not want a mystery. They want the answer. They are impatient. If they have to scroll past 3 screens of in today's fast-paced digital landscape, they are gone. They've bounced.
I am so guilty of writing that exact phrase.
We all are. It's ingrained in us. But you need to put the answer in the first sentence. Then spend the rest of the article explaining why it's true, and then tell them what to do next. Answer first, context second.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. As a content strategist, my boss is looking at metrics like time on page or engagement rate. If I give the whole answer in the first sentence, the best tool is X, won't the user just leave immediately?
Yeah.
Aren't I killing my engagement metrics by being too efficient?
That is the classic fear. If I feed them, they won't stay for dinner. But you have to look at the alternative. If you bury the answer, do they stay and read your 2,000 words to find it?
No, they hit the back button.
No, they bounce. And they bounce with frustration. They go back to Google to find a result that actually respects their time. That is a negative intent signal to Google. It tells the algorithm your page was a failure.
So we're trading a potential fast, happy exit for a guaranteed frustrated exit.
Exactly. But here is the nuance that people miss. If you give them the answer immediately, the BLUF, you build trust instantly. You are saying, I have the goods. I am not wasting your time. That actually encourages them to read the rest of your content to understand the context and the why.
They trust you, so they're willing to invest more time.
Yes. But even more importantly, we need to talk about why BLUF matters for AI. This is the new part of the equation.
Right, because humans are impatient, but machines are infinite. They can read the whole thing in a millisecond. Why does an AI care if the answer's at the top or the bottom of the page?
Because AI systems like Google's AI overviews or ChatGPT's browsing mode operate on a principle of confidence. They parse text looking for a definitive statement they can extract and attribute to you. They are literally looking for quotable chunks.
Quotable chunks. I like that phrase.
That's what they are. If you bury your answer in paragraph 4 and it's wrapped in metaphors and it depends, clauses, and all this fluff, the AI's confidence score in extracting that answer drops through the floor. It's muddy. It's ambiguous.
It's not sure what the actual answer is.
It's not sure. But if you open your article with the best project management tools for small teams are X, Y, and Z because they offer free tiers and simple onboarding, the AI sees a high confidence assertion. It grabs it. It cites you.
So you're essentially serving the algorithm a prepackaged soundbite. You're doing the summarization work for them.
Exactly. You are making it easy for them to cite you. And if you make it easy, you win the citation. This leads us directly into part 2, structuring for machines. Because there is a huge difference between writing for a search engine keyword and writing for an AI prompt.
I feel like most people are treating them as the same thing now. SEO is AI optimization, but they really aren't the same behavior, are they?
No, they are quite different. Think about how you use Google. Search queries are usually short, they're telegraphic. Best running shoes. SEO tips. It's caveman speak.
Right. We don't choose, we're fine.
Exactly. But AI prompts, they are conversational. They are full sentences. Someone might ask ChatGPT, what are the most effective SEO tactics for a B2B SaaS company in 2026, and how do they compare to the tactics that worked in 2025?
It's a full-on dialogue. It's a consultation.
It is. And the pattern we see across almost all B2B sites is that teams answer these complex questions implicitly. They bury the answer inside long, flowing paragraphs because that feels like good writing. It has a nice narrative flow. But AI needs explicit answers to those conversational questions.
Okay, so this brings us to tactic 3, writing for AI prompts. How do we actually do that without making our content sound robotic? Because I don't want my blog to read like a technical manual or a Wikipedia page.
It doesn't have to sound robotic, but it does have to be structured. Here is the tactic. Use real questions as your headings, your H2s and H3s.
Not just keyword phrases, but actual questions.
Yes. Go to your sales calls recordings. Go to your support tickets, your community threads on Reddit or Slack. Find the actual questions people ask your team every day. How much does implementation cost? Do I need a developer to set this up? What's the difference between your pro plan and your enterprise plan? Make those your H2 or H3 headers.
So the header is the literal questions, not something vague like implementation nuances, but the direct question, how much does it cost?
Yes. And then this is the most important part. Answer it immediately in 2 to 4 sentences. Plain language. No fluff. No. It depends on a variety of factors. Start with the range. Implementation typically costs between $5,000 and $10,000. Then you can explain the factors that influence the price.
So that first block of text is the BLUF for that specific section.
Correct. That 2 to 4 sentence block is your citation-friendly block. It is perfectly shaped for an AI to grab and display in a summary window or an AI overview. After that block, you can expand. You can tell stories, give examples, add all the nuance you want, but you must anchor the section with that direct, explicit answer.
It's almost like you're building a FAQ page directly into the narrative flow of the article.
You are. And this approach also helps you with Tactic 5, winning SERP features.
Okay, things like the featured snippets, the position 0 box that sometimes shows up at the top of Google.
Exactly, that's the big one. But also the people also ask boxes, those little accordions of questions. A lot of teams try to win these after they've published. They go back and they tweak things and they hope for the best.
Yeah, you see an opportunity and you try to retrofit your content to capture it.
The much better approach is to design for them when you're outlining the content, before you even write.
So before you write, you're actively planning which snippets you want to capture.
Right. If you know from your research that what is the best time to send an email is a key question with a snippet opportunity, you plan a specific section for it. But here's the trick that most people miss. Scoping.
Scoping? What do you mean by that?
Don't answer 5 different questions in one section. One section equals one question answered well. This is where people mess up constantly. They'll write a section header like email timing best practices, and then they'll write 3 long paragraphs that cover time of day, day of the week, frequency, subject lines, and personalization, all mashed together.
It's a content soup.
It's a soup. And for an AI or a Google snippet algorithm, it is very, very hard to extract a clean answer for just one of those questions. The signal is too muddy. You want your page to be a library of clean, distinct, well-defined parts.
I could hear the writers listening to this cringing a little bit
Yeah.
because it sounds repetitive. If every single section is question, answer, explanation, doesn't it get incredibly dry? Doesn't it lose the soul of the writing?
It can. That is the trade-off, and you have to be aware of it. It can feel formulaic if you're not careful. But here's the reality. The user is likely skimming your article anyway.
That's true. They're not reading it like a novel.
They aren't reading your soul. They are scanning for headers that match their specific problem. The way you solve the dryness is by varying the supporting details. Keep the BLUF tight. That structure is non-negotiable for the machines. But then use your human creativity in the examples, the edge cases, the stories you tell to support that answer. That's where the personality lives.
So the structure is for the robots, but the flavor is for the humans.
That's a great way to put it. The structure gets you seen, the flavor gets you remembered.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to the actual words we're using. We've talked a lot about structure, the skeleton, but what about the muscle, the language itself? I feel like keyword stuffing is such a dirty word. We all know not to write best SEO tool 50 times in white text at the bottom of the page anymore.
Hopefully.
But we still need keywords, right? They haven't gone away.
We do, but we need to think about them very differently. This is tactic 2, topic coverage and secondary keywords. We aren't stuffing keywords. We are mapping mental models.
Mental models. Explain that. How is that different from just getting a keyword list from a tool?
A keyword list is flat. A mental model is dimensional. So if you are writing about AI SEO content, what are the adjacent needs someone has? They aren't just thinking about the software in a vacuum.
They're thinking about their job.
They are thinking about who is going to use it. They're thinking about their job security. They're thinking about their workflow. So they might be searching for related concepts like SEO writing assistant or content marketing manager skills or how to train an SEO writer.
Right, they're thinking about the whole ecosystem, not just the single tool you're selling.
Exactly. So a page rarely wins because it repeats the head term AI SEO content 50 times. It wins because it covers the topic like someone who has actually done the work. And someone who has done the work would naturally talk about the writer who uses the tool. They would naturally talk about the workflow and the manager who oversees it.
So you aren't trying to force the phrase SEO writing assistant into a sentence where it doesn't belong. You're creating a whole section about who uses the tool, and that keyword just fits naturally within it.
Precisely. You map these secondary terms to specific sections where they fit. If you're discussing how to update old content, you might naturally mention what a content strategist does or the concept of content decay. That's not SEO magic. That is just matching the language of the user and their world. It signals to Google. This page covers the entire context, not just the dictionary definition.
It makes the content feel so much more complete, too. From a user perspective, it feels like you understand my whole world, not just the one little thing you're trying to sell me.
And speaking of understanding, let's talk about tactic 6, semantic language and clarity. There is a specific killer of clarity that AI absolutely hates, and frankly, humans aren't too fond of either, even if they don't notice it.
Ooh, I want to know the killer. This sounds juicy.
It's the vague noun, specifically words like this, that, and it.
Guilty. I use those all the time.
Yeah.
This helps with that. It's conversational glue, isn't it?
Yeah, we all do. It's completely natural in spoken language, but for an AI trying to parse your content and understand relationships between concepts, this is a dead end. It forces the model to look backwards, parse the syntax of the previous sentence, and calculate a probability of what this actually refers to. It creates friction and ambiguity.
Can you give me a specific example of a bad sentence versus a good one? I want to really hear the difference.
Sure. Let's say you're writing about technical SEO. A very common sentence might be, server-side rendering is faster. This is important for ranking.
Okay, that seems fine. This refers to the speed or the rendering itself. It's a little unclear.
Exactly. It's slightly ambiguous. An AI might struggle to connect this back to the specific benefit. A much better, clearer version is, server-side rendering is faster. Faster load times are important for ranking.
You just repeated the noun. You replaced the pronoun with the actual concept.
I replaced the vague noun with the specific concept. Now, there is zero ambiguity. The chain of logic is unbreakable for both a human and a machine.
That forces you to be so much more precise as a writer. It feels a little stiffer to write, maybe, a little less elegant.
It can feel repetitive if you overdo it. The
Uh-huh.
key is balance, but when you use related concepts like search intent, internal linking, EET in the right context, instead of just saying this and that, you are sending powerful signals to the search engine that you have actually covered the topic in depth. You aren't just skimming the surface with vague language.
It sounds like a lot of this is just, it's rigorous editing, like really aggressive, purposeful editing to remove fluff and ambiguity.
It is, but it's editing with a very specific purpose, removing semantic ambiguity. You want to lower the cognitive load for the human reader and lower the processing load for the bot.
Okay, we've covered the high-level strategy and the nitty-gritty of writing style, but there's a layer of this that I think people dread. It's the boring stuff. The technical on-page SEO. Is that still relevant in the age of AI? Or can we just let the robots figure it out?
This is tactic 4, on-page perfection. And yes, it is boring. And yes, it is absolutely essential. In fact, most of the quickest wins live here precisely because everyone neglects it. And they think, AI is so smart now, it understands my vibe. It doesn't. It understands your HTML tags.
Not sexy. No one gets a promotion for writing perfect H2 tags.
They don't. But let's look at your title tag. Google is completely explicit about this. If your title doesn't accurately describe the page, they will just rewrite it for you.
Wait, they'll just change my headline. The thing I spent an hour A/B testing and getting just right.
In the search results, absolutely.
Ah.
If you write a clickbaity title like, "You won't believe this one trick to rank higher," and the content is a detailed guide about SEO audits, Google will often pick a header from your page like, "How to run an SEO audit," and use that as the blue link text instead.
They want the label on the jar to match the jam inside. No surprises.
Correct. So make your title describe the page. Don't just tease it. And what about the basic structure? H1s, H2s?
I try to stick to the basics. One H1 per page, H2s for major sections, H3s for subpoints within those sections.
Good. Keep doing that. It's simple, but it's amazing how many sites get it wrong. But here is a big one that people consistently miss. Tactic 9, image optimization.
Oh man, alt text. I feel like that is the thing that always gets left for the very last second, right before you hit publish. You just type chart or graph and hit save.
Which is a huge missed opportunity, not just for accessibility, which is vital and in many cases legally required, but for meaning. Ask yourself this simple test. If the image didn't load, would the reader lose any critical meaning?
Ooh, that's a good test. Because usually, if I'm being honest, the answer is no. They'd just miss a stock photo of two people shaking hands.
Exactly. If the answer is no, the image is just decoration. And that's fine. Decoration helps with pacing and visual appeal. But don't make it a 5 MB PNG file that kills your core web vitals and load speed. But if the answer is yes, if that chart contains data that isn't repeated in the text, you are in big trouble.
Because the AI can't see the chart the way we do. It can't interpret the bars and lines.
Multimodal models are getting better at seeing images, but they still rely heavily on text. If you have a chart showing a 50% increase in traffic after an optimization, and you don't write that number out in the text or in the alt text, that data point is completely invisible to search. It doesn't exist.
So the alt text shouldn't just be bar chart. It should be bar chart showing a 50% increase in organic traffic from January to June after implementing the BLUF method.
Right. Now the search engine knows what the image means. And frankly, so does the user who has images turned off or is using a screen reader. It really is about completeness. You're just filling in all the gaps for every possible user and machine.
And that leads us to a massive topic, credibility. In a world where AI can generate text instantly, where anyone can spin up a blog in 5 seconds and sound plausible, how do we prove we're actually experts? How do we signal that EEAT experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness?
This is the battlefield for the next 5 years. Because if the machine can write the content, the value of just writing goes to zero. The value shifts entirely to trust. This is where Tactic 7, freshness, comes in. And I want to reference some specific research from Seer Interactive here because the findings are startling.
I love data. Hit me with the numbers.
So Seer Interactive did a deep dive into AI, brand visibility, and content recency. They tracked the activity of bots, specifically the crawlers used by large language models, across thousands and thousands of URLs, and they found a vertical drop-off.
A vertical drop-off. What does that mean?
It means the AI bot activity heavily concentrates on recently published or recently updated pages. If a page hasn't been touched in 12 months, the crawl rate from specific AI bots drop to near zero.
So they're massively biased towards new stuff.
Heavily. In practice, this means a page that ranked beautifully for you in 2022. Your crown jewel asset that brings in leads every month could be effectively invisible to an AI assistant in 2026 if it hasn't been touched. The freshness decay curve is much steeper for AI than it ever was for traditional Google search.
Wow. Invisible. So you can't just set it and forget it anymore. The whole myth of evergreen content is kind of dead.
It is dead. Or rather, evergreen now requires regular watering. You need a playbook, a system for refreshing your most important content. You have to identify the pages that have real business value and update them on a regular schedule.
But what does a good refresh actually look like? Is it just changing the date at the top of the post to say, updated for 2026?
Please don't do that. That's the oldest trick in the book, and Google knows. They have a timestamp for when the text on the page actually changed. A real refresh means updating your examples to be current, fixing broken links, expanding sections that now feel thin compared to what the top-ranking results expect.
Right. If you wrote an article about Twitter marketing in 2022, and you haven't updated it to reflect the platform being called X or all the recent algorithm changes, that page is worse than useless. It's actively misleading. It signals to the user and the bot that you are completely out of touch.
Exactly. And this is where a platform like ContentShip plays a huge role. We monitor data feeds and score opportunities so you can spot when a topic shifts. You don't have to guess which page needs refreshing. The data tells you, hey, your competitor just updated their pricing page and now yours looks outdated. You need to look at it.
That's a huge advantage, because otherwise you're just guessing or going down a list alphabetically, which is a total waste of time and resources.
Right. Now, beyond just freshness, there is Tactic 8, EEAT as page design.
Page design. I thought EET was about, having a PhD or being a recognized author, stuff that happens off the page. I am an expert.
It is about that, but it's also very much about how the content is presented on the page. There was a fascinating paper on generative engine optimization, or GEO, posted to Arxiv recently. Arxiv is a preprint server for scientific papers, so this is cutting-edge stuff. They tested different ways to optimize content for AI visibility.
And what won? What was the winning formula?
The paper suggests that content with a clear, logical structure and credible references surfaces much more frequently and accurately in AI outputs.
Credible references. So basically citing your sources like you did in high school.
Citing your sources, but also, and this is the key insight for me, mentioning constraints and trade-offs.
That's interesting. Can you elaborate on that? Why would talking about the downsides help you rank? It feels counterintuitive.
Think about how a salesperson talks versus how an engineer talks. If a salesperson says, this software is perfect for everyone, it solves every problem, it has no downsides, you instinctively distrust them. It sounds like marketing fluff.
It's too good to be true.
Exactly. But if an engineer says, this software is great for small teams who need to move fast, but it really struggles with enterprise-level data because of some database latency issues, that sounds like an expert speaking.
Because a true expert knows where the limits are. They know where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Exactly. High-trust content avoids sweeping absolute claims. It discusses the negatives. It explains who something is not for, and it cites primary sources. When you use a statistic, you link to the original research report, not a blog post that cites a blog post that cites another blog post.
That makes total sense. You're showing your work. You're signaling to the reader and the machine, I didn't just generate this, I researched this.
And Tactic 11, original research ties right into this. It is, hands down, the easiest way to get high-quality backlinks and valuable AI citations.
But original research sounds incredibly expensive and time-consuming. I'm picturing a massive industry survey, hiring a data science firm, 6 months of data collection. My team doesn't have the budget for that.
It doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be new. It can be as simple as aggregating your own internal benchmarks. We analyzed our own 500 customer support tickets and found that 70% of questions are about pricing or a teardown of category changes. Here is how the pricing of the top 5 tools in our space changed in 2025.
So you're creating a single piece of information, a data point, that didn't exist in the world before, even if it's small.
Correct. And that gives AI tools something unique to cite. If you just repeat what everyone else has already said, why should they cite you over the original source? But if you have the data point, the number, the chart, the new insight, you become the primary source.
This is all connecting so clearly now. The structure helps the machines read it, the freshness helps them find it, and the original research gives them a compelling reason to quote it.
Exactly. It's an ecosystem. You can't just do one part and expect results. They all reinforce each other.
I want to pause here and
Yeah.
talk about the operational reality of all this,
Right.
because we've listed a lot of tactics 11 so far,
Mhm.
and my head is spinning a little. I'm thinking about the content manager listening to this, who has a team of maybe 3 people and a goal of publishing 10 posts a month. This sounds like a lot more work per post.
It is more work per post. I won't lie to you. The bar is higher.
So how do we actually do this? We
Yeah.
can't just tell our teams to work 80 hours a week. That's not sustainable.
That's why Tactic 10. Comprehensiveness versus length is so important to understand. We need to redefine what good means. Comprehensiveness is not length, it is completeness.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Right.
Comprehensiveness is not length.
Most underperforming content fails because it misses the middle of the topic. It's hollow.
The middle. What's the middle?
Think about it. Most B2B articles define the concept at the beginning, what is SEO, and then they jump straight to the tools at the end. Here is our amazing software. They completely skip the actual decisions and struggles in between.
The messy part.
The messy middle. How do I hire a writer for this? How do I convince my boss to pay for this tool? What happens when my first campaign fails?
That's the real stuff. That's what people are actually stressing about in the shower at 2 a.m.
That is the middle. And that is where you should spend your words. You don't need a 5,000-word history of the internet to be comprehensive. No one cares. You need to cover the actual decisions the reader has to make. You can cut all the historical fluff and focus on the decision logic.
This is where I feel like freelancers often struggle, to be honest.
Yeah.
You hire a writer and they give you the definition and they talk about the tool, but they miss that messy middle because they aren't in the trenches. They don't know the real pain points.
A freelance SEO writer can be a great investment if, and this is a big if, they are briefed with real constraints and examples from your customers. You can't just give them a keyword and say, write about X. You have to say, write about the trade-offs of X and make sure you mention this specific struggle our customers always have with implementation.
So the strategist has to provide that metal. You can't outsource the core expertise.
The strategist designs the system. The writer operates it. Which brings us to Tactic 13, workflow on Rails. Triage. The biggest gap we see in content teams isn't a lack of writing talent, it's a lack of prioritization. It's chaos. Too many ideas, not enough focus.
That's the classic content marketing problem, right? We should be on TikTok. No, we should write a massive white paper. No, we need to update these 200 old blog posts, and you end up doing a mediocre job at all of them.
Exactly. You need a system that says, monitor the market changes, triage what actually matters to your business, map that opportunity to specific keywords, draft the content using these principles, publish, measure, repeat. You shouldn't be applying this 15-point checklist to every single press release. You apply it to the pages that actually drive revenue.
And this is where tools like ContentShip come in, right? To help with that critical triage step.
It is. We built AI-driven scoring to cut through the noise and tell you, hey, your competitor just got mentioned in this big publication, or this topic is trending up and you have an old, outdated page that covers it. Update it now for a quick win. It focuses your writing time where the impact is most predictable.
It stops the guessing game. It tells you where to aim the cannon so you're not just firing randomly.
It stops the guessing game. That's the goal.
You know, if you are listening to this and you're just nodding along thinking, man, my workflow is a complete mess, you are not alone. But the good news is that it is fixable. If you're finding this breakdown useful, maybe share it with your content lead or your team. Sometimes just having the shared language, hey, I think we need to fix our intent alignment on the blog, can change the whole conversation internally.
Absolutely. That common language solves half the problem right there.
Okay, we promised at the beginning that we would give them a specific, actionable plan. A Monday morning plan. We're at Tactic 14. Walk us through the sprint. How do I actually start this next week without getting overwhelmed?
All right. Here is the 15-tactic implementation plan. You can run this efficiently. The key is to not try to boil the ocean.
Step 1. What's the absolute first thing I do?
Pick one URL. Just one. Do not try to fix your whole site at once. Go into your Google Search Console, find one page that has a good number of impressions, meaning Google is showing it, but a very low click-through rate. That means Google is testing you, but you aren't winning the user's click. That is your perfect low-hanging fruit.
Okay, I have my URL. Step 2.
Confirm intent. Open an incognito window and Google that term today. Not what it looked like a year ago. Today. Does the first screen of your article match the shape and format of what you see in the results? If the SRP is all listicles and you have a long essay, stop. Rewrite the intro. Add a BLUF summary. Change the shape of that first screen.
Go shape is fixed. Step 3.
Tighten. This is the editing phase. Go through and add secondary keywords, but only where they add clarity. Ensure each section answers one question and one question only. Add outbound links to credible sources and internal links to your other relevant pages. And go on a hunt to kill all those vague nouns like this and that.
Got it. Step 4.
Refresh. This is the simple stuff. Fix stale dates. Fix broken links. If you have a screenshot of a software dashboard from 2021, for the love of God, replace it. If you mention a tool or a company that doesn't exist anymore, delete it.
And the final step, step 5.
Measure. You have to close the loop, track the rankings for that keyword, but more importantly, track the click-through rate, CTR, and this is the new One AI citations.
Yeah.
Is your content starting to show up in AI overviews or other generative answers? That's a new and powerful KPI.
The KPI isn't just we updated the page. The KPI is the page now earns demand.
Exactly. That's the only thing that matters.
It really feels like we're moving from a world of more content to better scoped content.
That is the entire shift. The era of content scaling just for the sake of volume is completely over. The AI generators made volume cheap, they commoditized it, so volume is no longer a competitive advantage. If everyone has a text vending machine, the text itself isn't special.
It's a quality game now.
It's a quality and a structure game. The advantage goes to the team with the better optimization system, not the faster writer.
I love that. So here's a provocative thought to leave you with as we wrap up. We call these tools AI, SEO, content generators. But maybe the goal is to make the generator the last step in your process, not the first.
I couldn't agree more. Do the strategy, do the triage, do the research, design the structure. Then and only then, let the AI help you draft the words to fill in that structure.
Thanks for listening to the Content Ship Podcast. If you're ready to stop guessing and start ranking for both search and AI, visit contentship.io. We can help you become your own AI-powered content team. Subscribe for future deep dives, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.